Hello guys, welcome back. In today's video, we are going to learn all about CSS Flexbox. So what is CSS Flexbox? CSS Flexbox is a layout module in CSS that makes it easier to design flexible, responsive layout structure without using float or positioning. So where do we use CSS Flexbox? You might have heard about this other CSS layout module called CSS Grid. CSS Grid is two-dimensional and is best fit for creating macro layouts. However, CSS Flexbox is one-dimensional and is best fit for creating micro layouts. Example, the navigation bar or sidebar of a website. With that being said, let's jump straight to the code. Welcome back. You can see the VS Code text editor is open on the left side and a live preview is being shown on the right. If you are wondering how I am able to do that, it is this extension called Live Server which you can get at the VS Code extension marketplace. Now back to the HTML. You can see that I have already got some basic HTML setup. Inside the body, I have created a div with the class Flexbox Container. Inside the div, I have created 3 more divs with the class FlexItem and an individual class for each FlexItem. For the styles, I have changed the background color to black and added a margin of 1 rem. In this case, 1 rem is 16 pixel because the root font size of Chrome is 16 pixel. For the FlexItem, I changed the background color to grey, added a padding of 5 rem, increased the font size to 3 rem and added a margin of 1 rem. You can also see that I have linked the style sheet here. So let's jump to that style sheet which is empty for now. Here we are going to start by targeting the class Flexbox Container. The way we change this to a Flexbox container is by changing the value of display property to flex. And you can immediately see the change in the live preview. Now the Flexbox container actually accepts 6 different properties. We will start with the flex direction. Flex direction, as the name implies, determines the direction of the flex. Its default value is row. You can change the value to column to get a column based layout. You can give the value column reverse to reverse the content inside the flex container. The same applies to row reverse. Now I am going to comment this one out. The next property I want to show you is Flexwrap. By default, the value of Flexwrap is no wrap. The Flexwrap property essentially controls whether the content inside the Flexbox container will wrap when the width becomes too low. If you change the value to wrap, you can now see the content inside the container will wrap. The next property I want to show you is FlexFlow. FlexFlow is simply a shorthand for flex direction and flex wrap. For example, you can write FlexFlow row and no wrap, or column and wrap. You get the point. The fourth property I want to show you is justify content. Justify content is the most commonly used property inside a Flexbox container. It is used to align flex items. By default, its value is flex star. You can align the items to the end by changing the value to flex end. Or you can center them by changing the value to center. You can get a nice even space around each item by changing the value to space around. Or you can maximize the space between each item by changing the value to space between. The fifth property I want to show you is align items. Now before I show you that, I am going to change the height of the Flexbox container by 300 pixels. Now I am going to give it a background color of red. The default value of the align items property is stretch. I can change the value to flex start to align the items at the top of the flex box. I can also change the value to flex end to align the items at the end of the flex box. I can also give the value center to align the items at the center of the flex box. Now there is one last value which you can give to align items, which is baseline. To demonstrate this, I am going to change the font size of each flex item. You can see that the numbers 1, 2 and 3 are actually aligned by the baseline. The last property I want to show you is align content. You can see that I have made some modifications here. Now I have 6 flex items. I have increased the size of the flex container to 750 pixels. And I have also enabled wrapping. Align content is just like justify content, but works along the vertical axis. The default value of align content is stretch. You can change the value to flex start to align the items at the start of the flex line. You can also change the value to flex end to align the items at the end of the flex line. You can also change the value to center the items. You can also change the value to space around to get a nice even looking space around the flex items. And you can give a value of space between to maximize the space between each items. Now, apart from flex container, the Flexbox items also accepts few properties. For example, the order property. The order property is used to determine the order of the items inside the flex container. I am going to give the first flex item an order of 3. The second flex item an order of 2, which is its default value, and the third flex item an order of 1. Watch what happens when I click save. You can see that the order of the items inside the flex container has reversed. The second property I want to show you for flex items is the align self property. The align self property is used to override the align items property of the Flexbox container. For that, I first increase the height of the container by 400 pixels and give a background color of red so we can clearly see what's going on. Now I am going to declare the align items property with a value of flex end. This is so to demonstrate the align self property of the flex items. For the first flex item, I am going to change the align self property to flex start. You can see that the first flex item has aligned at the top of the file. Similarly, I can change the value to center to align the item at the center of the flex container. Now the third and the final property I want to show you is the flex grow property. Flex grow property is used to determine how much a flex item will grow relative to its siblings. For example, for the flex item 2, I am going to give a flex grow of 2. You can see that the second flex item has doubled in size compared to the first and last flex item. And that's about it. Like, share and subscribe. God safe.